one size fits all theory will not work our country.
I would just like to understand what GRAAM is doing specifically.
If people's life has to change in a long term and sustainably, it can only be through a resurgent public policies. It could be only through pro people public policies. And that public policies are required to be made based on evidences, not just based on eminence, actually. So, with these deep thoughts, we thought about GRAAM.
What do you think that the missing links when it comes to the skilling ecosystem of India for the young people?
Need to have more and more long-term skill programs. The short-term programs should be for reskilling, upskilling, not for primarily skilling actually. So you should embrace more ITA and diploma courses, and that needs to be made industry based. We normally look the community as part of the problem and think government as a part of the solution. Like government's role is to provide the solution to people's problem. It is actually not. People can be part of the solution also.
Your biggest learning from working with the government?
The power of public policy. So how in a stroke of a pen, how we can change millions of lives.
Hello everyone. So we are again here for our second episode of our public policy puzzle podcast. This time we are lucky, privileged to have Dr. Basavaraju with us. Welcome, Dr. Basavaraju.
Thank you, Priyanka ji.
And when we say he himself doesn't need any introduction because he has 2 decades of experience when it comes to public policy, government, working with development sector as well. Currently, he is associated with GRAAM, that is Grassroots Research and Advocacy Movement, an organization which is leading the community-led public policy research and impact consultation. And he's working over there, and it's been already 10 years also that GRAAM is operating in this particular space.
13 years, like if I count the informal 3 years, it's 13 years, otherwise formally 10 years completed.
Yeah. So before I introduce him, I would like to request Dr. Basavaraju to, let us go through your personal journey and professional journey.
Yeah, well, so like many Indian youth, I belong to that large category, that is middle class category. So like aspirations of middle class youth are initially it's simple, like to get into some good education, then get into a job actually, like typical South Indian, that too particularly from Karnataka. So and I had to I completed my +2 in the year Y2K, that is 2000. So like majority of the youth from Karnataka, my aspiration was also like kind of forced into computer science.
Oh, okay.
Like wherein you can complete your graduation and then go and set, you're sure of getting some job. Like many, I also got into the computer science, but there was somewhere inside deep pull towards the social sector.
Okay.
I don't know why. I have always like more interested more towards public administration. Then somehow I had an opportunity to study economics in my computer science graduation program. Like now we talk about under NEP multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary courses. In Mysuru University, in those days, they introduced an elective along with computer science and mathematics. Like you could also study economics actually. I think that is one differentiating factor in my life. Number one. Second thing is, I was very active, volunteer of National Service Scheme. These two things somewhere pulled me into social sector more, and that also kind of made me to think about other than computer science when I had to opt for post graduation. Like I can again opted the management discipline there in post graduation.
So I think this is very relatable story. Even in our last podcast we were discussing those middle class struggles, because generally we are forced at times to get into engineering or medicals. They're supposed to be very traditional career paths so far. So okay, then you went to the management part of it. Yes.
Probably I would have been in some multinational company or some industry had I not listened to the lecture of Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, who is my mentor in the entire career. Somehow he had been to he came to our college to interact with the management students. Actually, that one lecture, I think, made me to think about, hey, there is something called development sector and even
Okay.
somebody can make a career in development sector, because majority of the people's opinion, we think we look up to development sector as one of the volunteering
Yes.
opportunity. In fact, yeah, I remember when I started my career, when I introduced myself that I'm working for so and so organization,
Mhm.
the next obvious question I used to face is, okay, that's okay, but what do you do for living? So, his lecture was kind of made me to think about development
So
sector.
even like today, I mean, nothing has changed much, because even if today, if we have certain discussions, we are going to youth, okay, whether you would be interested to get into development sector.
Mhm.
So their idea of development sector is still like NGOs.
Mm.
It's something they are going to do voluntarily, and they might not get paid for that. And this is something they just want to keep it in sidelines, right?
Mm.
So again, the thing,
Agree.
I think scenario is still the same. It's not been changed much.
There's a little change, I believe. There are a lot
Okay.
of kind of public policy schools have come, social work
Hmm.
schools have increased, and development as a discipline people are
Hmm.
studying. There are a lot of good private universities also offering liberal arts courses
Hmm.
comparatively compared to our time. Actually, I think these days kids will have a lot of exposure. They even will be able to tell you which organization pays how much.
Yeah.
The data and the revolution of technology is so good. Yeah, so that was the time, I guess. I think I was kind of attracted to
Mhm.
development sector, and subsequently I had an opportunity to serve for government.
Mhm.
Then it was I was asked to lead Karnataka's child labor program. That was another great turning point. Got me an exposure.
So what that program was all
It was
about?
basically to kind of develop a comprehensive policy and strategy for the state to eradicate child labor. So I had an opportunity to work closely with ILO, UNICEF,
Mhm.
and government of Karnataka from developing a state child labor policy, then subsequently developing an action plan. And to develop that action plan, I had to coordinate with interdepartmental committees and heads of the departments, bureaucrats, politicians, a lot of other stakeholders. Actually, that gave me a wonderful exposure into how policies are made at the government, how at the macro level the government works. Actually, what do you mean by notes and policy notes, policy memos, like that
Mhm.
internally gets drafted? uh, no, as you know, there were no formal public policy
Yes.
courses and training program then. Thanks to my management and computer science education, I was, I think, probably good at critical thinking and analytical thinking. So whatever the drafts I developed was appreciated by the government and various stakeholders. That gave me kind of a confidence that, okay, oh, I can also make a career in public policy. Then the destiny
Mhm.
gave another opportunity to kind of create GRAAM, actually.
Okay.
So when GRAAM started, it's all about public policy. Yes.
Okay, this is one thing. Maybe it's quite little off, but you came from a computer science background, and then you got exposure in development sector. And you said that maybe the skill sets in terms of which you have gained during your engineering time, I believe that's computer science BSc. Okay.
Yes.
So that's critical thinking, specifically this one which you have mentioned.
Yep.
Other than that, you feel that there is a challenge when the people are coming from different background. What they should be completely focused when they actually wanted to get into development sector or public policy sector.
One thing is, I would say, so for now, for any career, these the skills, 21st century skills are
Mhm.
becoming more and more important, being
Yeah.
talked about. You need to have analytical thinking, critical thinking, good communication, all these things. That's there for the sector. But thing is, somebody wants to come to development sector, come to public policy sector. I would say they need to have some core competencies, good
Uh-huh.
in some discipline or the subject, whatever they opt, and they whatever they study. Actually, that is number one, fundamental. Second thing is horizontal and vertical thinking.
Mhm.
So you need to understand how, say, when it comes, especially when it comes to public policy, how different departments function, what are the roles and responsibilities of different departments, actually, how different stakeholders required to collaborate and interplay. So when you really want to make and implement public policy, those general awareness and understanding is required. That's the reason I keep whenever I take an interview of for the people who aspire to join our organization, the first question I would ask is, okay, which newspaper or
Oh,
what in newspaper you study? Because so that is something like these days somehow we are not focusing on, these days kids are youth are not focusing on.
yeah,
So
they are not.
reading newspaper gives us enormous amount of general awareness actually. So it expands your horizon actually. So that's something, the horizontal and vertical thinking is required. So I think those are all the some fundamental skills. So somebody should possess to come to the sector.
Okay.
Rest we can always. And the second, the biggest thing is, I can say, the passion towards this sector is important.
Mhm.
And having the trust and belief in, yes, public policies can bring change. That's something you need to be optimistic about public policy if you really want to work in the space of public policy. If all these things are kind of possessed before getting into the sector, rest can be developed. And in the dynamically changing environment, if you are open to learn, have that
Mhm.
attitude to learn, and lifelong learning, you need to believe in lifelong learning. So then the rest can be inculcated
Okay, I think this is
subsequently.
something very important. Ability to learn, if you're open to learn and just have that mindset that obviously there is something new to learn every day and you're not blocking your mental space in that
Yes.
format. So, this is something which we all need, even for a
Yes.
change.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Basavaraju, you have an extensive experience. When we talk about the pyramid structure, so you have an experience on the grassroots level also, whether actually the implementation happens, and also you have been sitting in the policy corridors as well, whether you are the one who is developing models, having those action plans also at place, framing how policy should look like. So what are the challenges that, if you just think from both lenses,
Mhm.
at the policy level and also at the grassroots level or the
Mm,
implementation
mm.
level, so have you faced any, there are certain challenges are there when we just see it from grassroots level and then also the policy level?
Exactly, like both the perspective, like challenges are there both the sides. One, see, when I'll probably take the first one, the policy making level. I think the first and the foremost thing is thinking policy choice. In public policy studies and understanding, we think, we talk about policy choice.
Mhm.
Like in mathematics, we know there are more than one way to solve a problem.
Yeah.
There is not there's not like one structured method or only one method to solve a problem. You can arrive into the same results
Mhm.
in multiple ways also. Similarly, for even to solve a problem in social sector, a developmental problem, so there are multiple choices. Some choices are probably cost effective, some choices are costly but more efficient in terms of bringing solution quickly. So choosing an appropriate choice is always a challenge, and for that you need to have a empirical evidences. And
Mhm.
if you don't have an empirical evidences, you will not even know what choice works better and
Mhm.
what is that choice. I think right now that's the foremost challenge, is having an empirical evidences. So we don't have data for everything. Number one. Second thing is actually to kind of challenging our own comfort zones.
Mhm.
We are all wired to think in our own dimensions. Like if I'm a computer science graduate, I see a solution in technology for every problem.
Huh. Yeah.
So if I'm a kind of social scientist, I see, okay, working with community will have a more solutions and
Effect
challenges.
on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's we are all wired and trying to think from our like competent zone of competence, actually what we call. Challenging that is the foremost challenge for us. Like I had an opportunity to work with multiple administrators and policymakers. So again, as I said, they come from their zone of comfort and zone of competence actually, and they want to see solution in only in that zone. But in public policy, need to have that openness, understand the problem from the multidisciplinary perspective, understand different solution. That's something important actually, what I've understood. So that is critical challenges when it comes to policy making. And coming to policy implementation, see,
Mhm.
many a times if you go and talk to the people at the panchayat level, they
Mhm.
always critically look up to the policy makers,
Yeah.
thinking that, okay, hey, what they know, so we are the people implementing solutions here, we know what works. That pragmatism, many a times the solutions the planner would be developing would not be pragmatic, and one size fits all theory will not work our country. The policy choice should be so dynamic and so flexible that the implementer should have more than one choice or one way to solve the problem. So that sometimes restricts. I think probably it's getting a little complex. I probably try to explain this with an example.
Okay.
Sometime some couple of years back, the government came to us saying that okay, we have a rural housing program, but
Mhm.
unfortunately we are not able to achieve the financial target of more than 51% every year.
Mhm.
There's no dearth for resources, but we are not somehow not able to achieve the target. So then they asked us, okay, analyze
Mhm.
this problem, let us know what could
Mhm.
be the problem.
Okay.
So we did a thorough policy analysis and tried to understand there, like there is an accountability factor which was built in the policy, was becoming a bottleneck to the implementation of policy.
Okay, and that's interesting.
See, normally when you know government
Mhm.
it wants to construct houses for poor, the
Mhm.
people from the low economically marginalized section, so they go for like identifying a government land
Mhm.
first to convert that into a residential plots.
Mhm.
But these days government land is shrinking, coming down, and normally they have to go and buy a private
Okay.
agricultural land and then go for a conversion. And practically speaking, in revenue language, if I speak, there is something called guidance value, something called market value. Guidance value is something the government fix up, okay, this is the rate
Mhm.
for a land actually, but normally that is not at all available. The
That is not.
registration
Yeah.
rates, the market rate is always different. So in that policy there is a stipulation that you can't go beyond certain extent of guidance value.
Okay. Okay.
So they were the local collectors, the district magistrate, they are not able to kind of go beyond that limit and procure land, and land was not available for the governance value. So then we identified this bottleneck in the policy. So then kind of tried to create multiple choices. Okay, if this is the policy problem, then what could be the multiple ways to handle it?
Mhm.
Still keeping your accountability factors in mind, how you can provide more leeway or more choices to the decision maker at the district level, so that they don't have to come back to the government again and again with the proposal, because here you don't have time to address to so many proposals actually.
So that might also cause a lot of process delays in between
Process
them.
delays. In fact,
Yes.
one of the major bottleneck we identified in implementation of that policy was process delay,
Yeah.
because the committee at the additional chief secretary at the government had to chair that meeting and take decisions. And ACS is chair of multiple committees, and probably this department would get twice or thrice an opportunity to meet and take a decision about all the proposals that come from different blocks and districts actually.
So what is the overall impact? Like, does it enhance the numbers, like from
Yeah, in fact that
15%?
we try to work on providing multiple choices, like how you can, we even we came out with a metric that how to estimate a land value scientifically.
Okay.
So if you keep the checklist, go and stand in front of the land and keep filling that
Mhm.
metric actually document, you will figure out what is the price of a land. It is 1x, 2x, or 3x.
Okay.
So that kind of a mathematical model we try to build. Similarly, the accountability model, how I can, for example, adding one more layer at the district level, level itself, can you can kind of avoid going to the state level. So take a decision about procuring land at the district level. Those kind of policy choices were provided.
Okay, that's great. And also, just adding up to that, what is, like, if I have to ask you one question, what has been one of those very interesting professional challenge for you so far in your career, which you felt that that was something quite challenging, and I enjoyed while working for that or while being engaged in that particular public policy. It could be research, it could be grassroots, anything that you would like to highlight.
Career challenge for me has never been any such.
Exciting part of it. Some any incidents or any work or project that you have worked on that you found was quite exciting for you, and there's a lot of learning there.
Yeah, so that's something like at GRAAM we tried something to strengthen the community's ability to govern themselves. See, as we all know, the 73rd and 74th Amendment to our Constitution is
Mhm.
something that everyone in the development sector, or the citizens for that matter, should be kind of should cherish that, should value that. That gives in the so in people's polity we say something like the ability for people to govern their own programs or
Mhm.
make their own choices. That's the biggest thing actually in the people's polity we talk about. But there was no such opportunity earlier. So this amendment to the constitution gave power to people to manage themselves, their own government at the local level actually. But as you know, like many statutes, acts passed and policies are made, but it's not percolated down
Yeah.
to the ground actually. In order to try that, we kind of came out with a program called Arogya Shreni.
Oh, okay.
And wherein we try to build capabilities of people's committee, which is under the panchayat actually, not even panchayat, if it's under the panchayat actually. There are several people's committee. I see, I must tell you, our policymakers have thought about like wonderful structures, but many a times we the people who don't
Yeah.
understand, number one. Second
Yeah.
thing is we don't execute. The execution is not happening.
Okay.
So there actually we built the planning and monitoring committees that required to be functioned at the primary health center level, and we made them to understand what are the health service delivery available,
Mhm.
and what you should be getting as well as what you should be governing. That made actually to think, they expanded their horizon. They started participating in the overall program actually. So we normally look the community as part of the problem
Mhm.
and think government as a part of the solution, like government's role is to provide the solution to people's problem.
Mhm.
It is actually not. People are can be part of the solution also, and this program made me to kind of give that experience for us, how people can be made as part of the solution. So they started participating, and we came out with a wonderful concept of people's ranking card.
Mhm.
We leveraged technology to get their responses. We collated the data, came out with primary health center wise ranking card.
Mhm.
And that made people to think even more critically and engaged also. They were no it's normally what happens, like when my child gets 10th rank, I'm not worried. But
Mhm.
my neighbor's child gets first rank, then I'm more worried.
That's psychology.
So the same thing happened in the community.
Okay.
And they said, okay, आपका rank क्या है? मेरा
Mhm.
rank 10
Mhm.
10वीं नंबर में है. Fine, but what is the rank of my neighboring PHC? Oh, that they are in first. Then they had a problem. They all started going to doctor and started discussing with the doctor. Doctor साहब बताइए क्यों मेरा अस्पताल, एक्चुअली हमारा अस्पताल 10वीं रैंक में है.
हाँ, फर्स्ट पे क्यों नहीं है, क्योंकि नेबरों का जो
Yeah,
है वो
yeah,
फर्स्ट पे है.
yes, first पे है.
That's
So
interesting.
then doctor started explaining. Doctor had to explain.
Mhm.
So see, we are not conducting labor delivery etc in our primary health centers. Then they started explaining why we are not conducting.
Mhm.
Then doctor had to explain, for example, no, there is no running water in our PHC. Okay. Then the community asked, what do you mean by running water? No, no, there's always 24 into 7 water should flow in the tap.
Mhm.
So then that is what we call it as a running water. That is essential for this kind of conducting surgeries, as this conducting this kind of procedures, etc. Okay, then we are going to give you a dedicated water line. So let village not
Yeah.
have, but we will give you a dedicated water line. See, that particular program, I tell you, Priyanka ji, so gave us so much of satisfaction and so much of learning that, hey, even today, we sometimes become cynical about people's participation. But
Mhm.
even today, provided there is a platform, provided there is an opportunity, people would engage, people would like to engage, and people would be a part of the solution.
I think this is also I can relate, because at public policy puzzle we just wanted to let's be a part of the solution. The more people are going to engage, the more youth, in fact at the grassroots level, I think we have to communicate it better.
Yep.
It shouldn't be like a policy is coming,
Mhm.
now you just had to adhere that particular policy. I think you have to make it understand ki why this is important for you first of all.
Hmm.
Till the time you're not able to have that thought in their mind specifically ki what was the intent of that policy,
Hmm.
that might be for your own welfare, they might not be thinking in that particular direction. I think this is one thing. The more people you're going to involve for the solution, they can be a part of solution.
Yes.
And I think second, if you're going to communicate it right, what I believe,
Exactly.
Then only they ask the right questions.
Yes.
They demand their rights. Okay, then why school should be there? Why they need a better roads? In this particular case, also the better healthcare
Healthcare.
facilities as
True.
well.
True.
And then when they start participating, I think that's the way when the government also has a pressure to build better
Yes.
and also to work on the solutions part. And the people are the one I particularly believe they are the one who can actually keep the government on toes as well,
Yes.
or the policymakers. So this is interesting. And Dr. Basavaraju, also, like, it's a little, I'll just refer this, but there's one more question.
Mhm.
What is your favorite part in working so far? Like, whether it's you have authored a lot of CSR as well, and also a lot of model you have delivered right now with GRAAM. What is your favorite part in that? What exactly you love to do? If you have to pick one part of that, or it's all of them.
Actually, the solution is there in all of them actually.
Okay.
But I always love to work, learn from community and be with community and work with community, and developing this kind of grassroots model, like the one I explained right now. It could
Mm-hmm.
be Arogya Shreni. It could be another model we experimented is Sugamya Shiksha. Similarly, similar to health, how you can bring people's participation in education actually, and own education institution as our school. Yeah. So those are all the grassroots development models I enjoy developing actually.
And there's also one personal question. Like, you have been extensively worked at Karnataka.
Mhm.
And when we see as an India as a nation, there's a lot of difference even if state-wise. So when we
Mhm.
talk about even Delhi versus Karnataka. So what we believe, like in Delhi, there is a very top to bottom approach, wherein Karnataka is any which ways. I've been visiting a few places wherein there's a lot of bottoms up approach. People are being aware day by day. They're much more aware as
Comparatively.
comparatively. And when we go to states like UP, Bihar,
Mhm.
so again, the situation is not that great if you talk about in terms of employability or in terms of awareness. Yes, they are also improving and government are doing a lot of things. So, like, from the public policy lens, like, why this one state who is might be doing great at certain parameters, why that particular model cannot be copied? What are the challenges there? Maybe people is one of the challenges, adaptability part, infrastructure part, education part. I think that all play a big role in all of that. But when I have to compare
Mhm.
specifically the north part of India and
Mhm.
the south part of India, what are the major challenges that you see from the public policy? And yes, there is a gap, clear gap on certain parameters.
I don't know how competent I am to kind of give answer to this. And having myself, okay, because I'm now into policy research, I have an opportunity to travel to multiple
Mhm.
states. Not only when I mean states, I don't certain normally go to headquarters, but I go to the villages of
Mhm.
various states. I've learned and I've started appreciating the beauty of this country. So different states have different innate advantages and strengths actually. So we have somewhere need to kind of increase that cross learning between the states. The best practices of one state required to be learned by best practices of other. uh, Having come from the Karnataka, because that's my home state, some of the natural advantages I guess we had.
Mhm.
One is the traces of democracy. If you
Okay.
go dig deeper actually, the democratic part practices and principles were there. So
Mhm.
again, I come from a place, Mysuru, and thanks to the Wadiyars of Mysuru,
Mhm.
wherein they started the people's representative assembly before independence. Like there was elections were held to town polity
Mhm.
and these people's committees actually. There were peasants assembly was created,
Mhm.
the farmers assembly was created by them. So those are all like probably kind of inculcated that kind of people participation, good practices then. But of course, no, if you go to the Indic philosophies and go back, actually, even the states like Bihar, we had a the Republic words, first Republic, probably Vaishali and Vajji.
Mhm.
Those are all the states actually. We had deeper, the Republic, and people had a universal franchise then actually, right to vote.
Mhm.
Everybody, had a equal right to vote. See, as a country, we are a mother of democracy. Somewhere during colonialization period, actually British era, it was systematically kind of reduced and systematically made to forgotten. But I think we need to revive it. I see a lot of UP Bihar actually, that kind of innate practices and advantages were there, but somehow we have lost
We have lost.
that in between actually. But the various factors, it could be early decentralization movement started in Karnataka before the India government of India came out with decentralization act actually,
Mhm.
the Panchayat Act. Karnataka pioneered that act actually. We had a three tier governance system. In fact, that gave an early advantage to the state actually. It put people little ahead of probably other states
Mhm.
actually, to think in terms of ability to participate and opportunity to participate in governance actually. I think that is one differentiating factor. I think if you go for true devolution of power,
Mhm.
that's what now our honorable prime minister is time and again saying, janbagidari.
Mhm.
So it is governance is all about empowering people to participate in the process of governance. So if that happens, I think we can bring that uniform development across the country.
And again, coming back, how do you think that the youth participation can help? Because still there is a challenge. I think we were just
I'll
discussing
ask a
off the
counter
camera
question
also.
to you. What what other option you have other than youth
We
participation?
don't have. So that's why
See, this
how to
country is
encourage
all
them?
about youth. We time and
Yeah.
again with a lot of statistics we say, oh, we are the youthful
We
country,
are the young
young
country.
country, and
Yes.
we'll have so much of youth in the productive
Yeah.
age group, so and so year, etc. But if youth are not participating, what else we have? Like what other opportunity or other option we have? I think youth are the opportunity. Youth are the option for us actually. So youth need to participate. See, but unfortunately, if you look at the recent the index, youth development index, actually whatever we have,
Hmm.
is youngsters participation, youth participation in civic engagement is zero point 0.1, and
It's
political
quite low.
participation is zero point 0.4. When we mean political participation is just participating in voting, participating in some other basic things they need to do. It's not about something more. And also civic is, we have very kept very minimum indicators actually. uh, but while we can blame easily the youth, so hey, you are not participating, but my always blame the system also.
System, yes.
System has to own this responsibility. We should ask ourselves, what are the platforms we have created for youth to engage? Say if I am a youth youngster from a tier 2 city
Mhm.
and I want to participate with my local self government, what is the opportunity I have? Whether my town municipality or my corporation or my panchayat, how it is being opportunity they are giving, providing and creating for me to participate in the process of governance. So we easily say like, okay, youth participation in civic responsibilities means go and volunteer with some NGO. That opportunity is still there, but so we need to create more and more governance opportunity and development opportunity for youth to participate in the process of development.
This is one thought back of the mind. When we go to tier 2, tier 3 cities, right?
Mhm.
When again there is a system is one part of that. We were not able to create that many platforms yet because there's a big struggle, right? Whatever the policies are made, that's again still like very at the top level, I can say. It's not been we're not able to penetrate
Hmm.
down to tier 2, tier 3 levels yet. But also there's other part of that. Again, like it's like you have to just see from all the stakeholders' perspective.
Mhm.
If there's a young person, go to
Mhm.
tier 2, tier 3 cities, right?
Mhm.
So generally, when they graduate, there's a lot of you can say pressure on them to
Mhm.
get a job,
Mhm.
have a decent salary, and then only though your parents are gonna feel proud about you.
Yeah.
This is one part of that. And second, if you want them to engage more into the government sector or the development sector to come in a big way, so ideally we have to somehow balance both of them because right now they feel that the lucrative career options for them may be engineering, management, and all those fields. This scenario is a lot more different when it comes to metro cities because still the youth is a lot more aware right now. They know that how to pursue their passion, how to make money out of it, and also the soft skills part are actually playing a
Key role.
major role in that. Might be the same exposure that tier 2 3 cities people are not getting. So again there is a struggle over there, is survival first
Yes.
and then maybe government second.
Yes.
Any thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I think in terms of knowledge, youth from villages and tier 2, tier 3 cities, they have enormous. They have life experience.
Yeah.
In fact, the hard earned knowledge from their own life, actually, their own vicinity, their own people around them, actually. But the only thing they lack is exposure, number
Yes.
one. Second thing is their ability to articulate. So the communication skills. So those exposure are required to be built, provided to the youth in our country, especially in those areas actually. I think we need to go a little more systematically and
Yeah. Also,
structurally. to reach out to them actually.
Just a follow-up question, as you have been worked extensively on skills and livelihoods at the grassroots level,
Mhm.
and this question goes to again National Education Policy 2020 because it's supposed to be a breakthrough
Mhm.
when it came, right? But still, like today, there was a news like recently, the Mercer has published a report wherein they are saying when you talk about India, there's had only 42.6% youth are employable,
Mhm.
right? And most of the unemployability are led by Delhi first, like
Mhm. Mhm.
51.6%, they're unemployable. Second, like followed by Punjab and Himachal Pradesh as well, right? So
Mhm.
there is again like in top three when we talk about unemployability, the South Indian cities are still not there.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, there is a very stark difference we talk about, and therein it's been mentioned ki they do not have a lot more non-technical skills.
Hmm.
So technical skill is still fine. If you're an engineer, you have a hard skill to do, you can earn your money. But
Mhm.
certainly you might be, if you're lacking on other skills. So let's say even in public policy, when you have entered, you have very clearly defined it has to be multidisciplinary. Plus you are actually day on day basis, you are engaging with lot many stakeholders.
True.
Like having a conversation with someone sitting at panchayat and then having a conversation who is someone is sitting at the government level. You have to understand both of the
True.
perspectives once, right? So, is there anything I would just like to take aspiration, even if Karnataka government they are doing, which is something different from what the other states are not doing,
Mm.
which can benefit in this particular direction, skilling specifically the non-technical part of the skilling,
Mm.
wherein can also encourage them to be a part of this development sector, public policy sector.
Okay, one is of course, I know now I think I'm also optimistic and looking up to NEP initiative. So a lot of this interdisciplinary, education, I'm I'm thinking like it'll be game changer.
Mhm.
So there are more and more opportunity for youth in coming days to get exposure into multiple sector. Second thing is under the policy, there's also several programs available like to go and build the employability curriculum and as well as employability training to the youth in the colleges actually.
Mhm.
So that program is already available. There are implementation flaws in it actually which required to be tightened actually. Again, the thing is the policies are good, but policy in itself will not yield us any result.
Mhm.
There's a lot of implementation framework, we need to strengthen it. So specifically coming to Karnataka, of course, the things are not. Let me share some statistics with you. In fact, we recently did a study
Okay.
amongst both youth in college as well as youth in the community also. Some interesting facts. So in fact, when we try to ask youth who have not got into any skill training program,
Mhm.
so are you interested to join skill training program, 48% said they are not interested.
That's
Okay.
like quite surprising,
Second
shocking
thing
even.
is, and 56% of the youth in college who are in their
Mhm.
graduation are not aware of skill development programs. The famous skill development programs, they are not aware of actually.
Mhm.
And 36%, we try to understand whether they have an aspiration, whether they have any goal,
Mhm.
ambition. 36% said we don't have any such aspiration and ambition. I think that is the biggest
That
thing
is the
actually.
biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge we have actually. How you create, I call it as aim, aspiration, inspiration, and motivation.
Mhm.
That aim you create amongst the youth, that's something important we need to kind of understand how you create. See, if like as APJ, our honorable past president APJ Kalam ji said, like you need to first dream big. And unfortunately few youth of our country are not dreaming. Then where, how about the future? I think that's something we need to inculcate and create that amongst our youth actually. So and also when it comes to job offers, like
Mhm.
we on one hand we say there are no job opportunity, on the other hand we say there are no dearth for job
Yeah.
opportunity. But when I try to understand some of these critical data, like in our own study, so when it comes to country's largest skill development program, the offer rate, the job offer rate was 50%. That means for every 100 youth completed that program, 50% of them offered with a job,
Mhm.
and only 25% took that offer. Okay.
This is specifically for which program, Dr.
Yeah,
Basavaraju?
so no, this is one of the country's largest skill
Okay.
development
Okay.
program. So similarly, when it comes to some of the programs offered by some of the CSR organization, we did a kind of
Mhm.
meta-analysis of some data. Like when the offer was 41%, like uptake was 14%. I think there is even amongst the ITI program, it could be in different states what we did. So the job offer rate was 46% and uptake was 26%. There is somewhere some critical analysis we have to make, some problem is there. So somewhere our skill programs required to kind of think very critically where we are heading to. Like even attrition rates are high, the job rates are low. So how we can kind of think overall the entire program, that's something I think we are in the crossroads when it comes to. We have a lot of good initiatives, but implementation level, implementation strengthening, we need to bring in more actually.
Okay, so as again coming to your experience back, what do you think that the uh, you can say missing links when it comes to the skilling ecosystem of India for
Okay.
the young people?
First thing is information asymmetry and lack of the labor market information at the district and sub district level.
Mhm.
So we've been talking about the area specific skills, the local skills, etc. But unfortunately, we don't have data. We don't have much data about that. That is one of the major missing links, I would say. As a researcher, also as a policy planner, also I have come across actually. So
Mhm.
you'll not be able to tell, okay, which the skills will have more demand over the next 5-10 years period in which place actually. So that is something one. Second thing is institutionalizing the skill program. Like we have, I think, more and more going to a short-term skill development program.
Mhm.
But the deep, like somewhere, like if you want to learn from other developed nation, we need to go towards more and more institutionalizing the skill development program. That means need to have more and more long term skill programs. The short term programs should be for reskilling, upskilling,
Mhm.
not for primarily skilling actually. So you should embrace more ITA and diploma courses, and that needs to be made industry based. Like you need to have more in practical side, less in theory side actually. So that kind of a system we may need to kind of create. And the most another important thing is we need to invest more towards bringing skill premium. Because I've been uh, kind of asked by many youth whenever I go for a field work.
Mhm.
They say, sir, I'm skilled and I'm being paid this much.
Mhm.
There's somebody with skill coming to the sector, without skill coming to the sector, and he's also being paid more or less of what I
Same
get.
amount. Okay.
What is the premium? So in skill terminal, in that connotation, we call it as a skill premium. There's no skill premium for in many industries, actually in the industrial sites. So that required to be somehow we need to institutionalize. Third is actually there is a trainer development is required. So when more and more youth are required to be skilled, where are the trainers? We need to invest more and more creating trainers. And the next crucial link in the sector is actually the industry institution engagement and alignment. We have been talking about this problem, but somewhere we are not able to crack a solution for this actually. How you bring more and more industry, collaborate with
Mhm.
institutions and work and share their information. What industry needs, what industry required, skill requirements are of them actually, and how many of skilled employees they need. And the another critical component is our strengthening skill missions at the district level, and continuous monitoring. How you can also communitize skilling. That is
Okay.
something. How I've talked about other sectors. There's a lot of scope for bringing people engagement in skill sector as well. So that's something somewhere missing actually. So I think if we work on these critical last mile issues, I think we can strengthen and make our skill programs much more effective.
Okay, yeah, that's something to look forward for, and I think we have to have a deeper dive at all levels,
Yes.
specifically at government and all
Yes.
stakeholders level, to get into there.
Yes.
Okay, so next up, coming back, Dr. Basavaraju, because that was quite an interesting discussion which we went
Yeah.
through. We dived a little deeper, but yeah. Now coming back to GRAAM. So GRAAM is there. It's been 13 years
Hmm.
unofficially you said, and officially it's been 10 years. And they have done a wonderful job in terms of grassroots levels, community-led engagement specifically, and policy research. So what you have to say, like, I would just like to understand what GRAAM is doing specifically.
GRAAM with created with a clear intention. Like we at GRAAM, we keep saying this. In the process of development, the only there are two permanent entities in the process of development is citizenry and government.
Mhm.
So these are the two permanent institutions in the process of development, and others, it could be NGOs or it could be corporates or it could be academia. So we are all facilitators in the process of development, and to the maximum we can play the role of catalyst in this whole process, that to expedite the process of development. How in a chemistry laboratory, by adding a catalyst, you will expedite the process of experiment, right? Similarly, all of us, we can maximum play the role of catalyst. So that means if people's life has to change in a long term and sustainably, it can only be through a resurgent public policies. It could be only through pro people public policies, and that public policies are required to be made based on evidences, not just based on eminence actually.
Mhm.
So with these deep thoughts, Graham, kind of thought, we thought about Graham actually to contribute towards these thinking and principles like evidence-based pro-people public policies. That's what, that's the reason we started the thought of Graham actually. And we also, like a research, in research we put a lot of hypotheses. We
Mhm.
think about a lot of hypotheses. We also kind of enforce a lot of hypotheses to Graham, whether Graham can be started in a tier 2 city like Mysuru,
Okay.
because when now most of the think tanks are kind of start their operations from Delhi,
Mostly.
are mostly, or
Yeah.
at least from the
Yeah.
state headquarters.
Yeah.
But we thought about starting from a tier 2 city, and whether Gram can established without taking any endowment or without taking some seed money or grant, whether we can build a self-reliant, self-sufficient organization. These are all the questions, and of course other thing is whether we can put in a multidisciplinary team together. So those who will not box themselves as I'm an economist, I'm a sociologist, I'm a that specialist, this specialist. Can we all come together and work together? So these are all hard questions. That's the reason I said informally we experimented it between 11 and 13, whether it works actually. So that initial formative years gave us that confidence that yes, Gram can thrive actually. In 14, we registered as an independent, not-for-profit trust very intentionally. And today, like Gram is operating in 18 different states, having its research and policy footprints in 18 different states, working with various governments as well as foundations and corporates actually in terms of doing policy research and evaluation, program evaluation, understanding how why program worked or didn't work actually, and communicating all these evidences and informations to the policymakers so that our policies can be made better and better. In the journey, we have also taken the responsibility of not being just researchers and giving
Mhm.
publications to the policymakers, but also playing the role of advocacy. Actually, we believe in we will be successful only when our data, the study, whatever we come out with actually
It's been
translate,
implemented.
implement it and convert it into action actually. So that's the reason we consciously named our organization as a advocacy movement. It has to, it's a continuous process actually, and we engage closely with government. We believe in collaboration than confrontation. So we work with policymakers, we persuade them why this policy change is important, why this program change is important. We try to bring those policy changes through evidences and our policy communications. And apart from that, we are also into kind of building capabilities of people, especially youth, to engage them into in the policy sector, because our expectation is more and more youth should look into public policy sector, not just from the career perspective. You need not make a career in public policy sector, but you need to be as an active citizen. You need to have an understanding of what you mean by policy, how policies are made, what role a citizen has a role in a policy making, how they can contribute. That's something we want every youth of this country to collaborate. So we also come out with we implement programs like introduction to public policy,
Yes.
public policy and program evaluation. These are all the programs we have curated with our practical experiences and understandings. This we keep offering, and we also provide impact evaluation support, and program design support to
Mhm.
corporates under their CSR. So this is the journey of GRAAM. This is what we have been doing in the last 13 years. We have completed not less than 140 various projects across country, and some of our work has translated into policy change and action. So be it our work in Narega,
Mhm.
advocating for provisions for people with disability and specific provision for people with disability to participate in a REGA program,
Mhm.
or it could be creating skill development policies and vision document for the state of Karnataka,
Mhm.
or it could be advocating for actually strengthening the people participation in the health sector and demonstrating a model
Mhm.
for people participation in the health sector. So those are all some the actual contributions also GRAAM has been able to make. Yeah.
So I would also more interested to know about this introduction to public policy, because you've clearly mentioned there are two parties in that involved in public policy, that is government and citizen. And also, yes, I would also believe you may need not to make a career out of public policy, but as a citizen, we have evidences, in
True.
fact, across other countries also, where the citizen participations are more. They are developed countries right now, because the
True.
citizens are much more aware as compared to when we are just going to compare from India. Obviously, slowly and gradually we can move, and we
Yeah.
will move, and we should move. There is no
Yeah.
option
True.
for us as well. So, yeah, how that, what exactly this introduction to public policy is, anyone as a normal citizen who has
Mhm.
no background coming
Mhm.
from any of the field, could be a 25-year young graduate, could be a 40-year-old housewife, can take it.
We have had both the kind of range of people having gone through our earlier program. Actually,
Okay.
we have designed it in a very simple manner. Like in this course, even for the non-policy person, so not doesn't no need to have any previous exposure into
Mhm.
public policy learning and understanding. So we tell them, what do you mean by public policy, how this whole thing called public policy evolved, what was the natural reasons for evolving or coming out with something called public policy actually. And then we tell them about how public policies are made, then how policies are enacted, like what are the difference between what is the difference between a policy and a act actually.
Mhm.
Many a times we don't know, several other people will not be knowing a difference between a bill, act and a policy, etc. So and also we take them through how you can in a simple way analyze a public policy.
Mhm.
So you analyze it and you understand it better, and probably you can also contribute to come out with better policy choices as a citizen actually. And of course this will also help if they want to really make their career in the public policy sector, so they can certainly pursue this better more and understand these skills. And also we talk about policy communication,
Okay.
how one should communicate policies, how one should communicate for change in public policy. What are the different ways, both as a policy maker as well as a citizen, you have different avenues to communicate policy change. That's something we talk about. These are all the five different modules we kind of cover in introduction to public policy course.
And yeah, this is for the audience that this program, Introduction to Public Policy, is also available on Public Policy Buzzer platform. So yeah, you can go as a citizen. Like, it's quite easy for you to understand exactly what is public policy, what are the difference between bill, law, and act, which most of us as a citizen may not be aware about it. This is going to be a wonderful program. I think you should go have a look over there. And if you have any queries, you can connect with any one of us and reach out to GRAAM team as well. Now this is going to be the fun. It's, we say, like,
Okay.
fun. It's a fast round, so you don't spend a lot of time thinking. You just top
Yes.
of the mind whatever come. Okay, so one policy you wish every Indian should understand.
73rd and 74th amendment to the constitution, which gave power to all of us to think about our own future and make our future.
Okay, your biggest learning from working with the government.
Slow and steady wins the race. But critically, it's the power of public policy. So how in a stroke of a pen, how we can change millions of life.
Okay, so if you had the power to change one policy in India instantly, what would it be?
I would like to work on rural social business policy, number one. Second thing is citizen engagement policy.
Okay, advice for young professionals and students exploring public policy careers.
One, develop your core competence, understand government and policy ecosystem closely, and believe in the power of public policy. how it can bring change to the life of people, then come to this sector.
Any closing remarks, Dr. Basavaraju?
Well, I must say, having probably in my whole conversation, I would have talked some, some pain points also. But having said that, we are in a wonderful, period wherein there is government is thinking about evidence-based public policy. So Prime Minister himself, in many occasions said the importance of going towards evidence-based public policy. And when you mean evidence-based public policy, then you really need to create more and more evidences. And of course, it's also important for us to work on strengthening evaluation systems so that we'll get more understanding about what works and what doesn't work in the field, actually in the practical setup. So need to strengthen evaluation mechanism both at the center and the state and sub district levels, actually. That's those things are there. And if you look at in the last 5 years, we have, I think, India is having third highest number of think tanks in the world. That means there are more opportunities. So more and more employment and career opportunities are also there in this sector. I think youth of India should consider public policy and development sector equally, with both aspiration as well as passion.
Okay. So it was nice talking, and as I said that this conversation naturally just flows, and yes, there's a lot to look forward, and there's a lot of responsibility coming to youth as well. It's high time you think that what country you want to live in. Maybe leaving, moving from city to metros to countries is not the solution. It's not something which we are seeking for. We should not. It is not something which we would like to give to our future generations also. So I think this is high time, first of all, that thought has to be there that you actually want to make a change. And why it's high time to have that change right now? You have to start thinking in this particular direction. With this, we wish to have you again, Dr. Basavaraju, because I am not pretty much satisfied with this. Maybe we have to meet again whenever there's another round of discussions we would like to have, specifically on the pain points, because that's not all rosy. We are quite optimistic, but at the same time, there's a lot to explore in it. And with this, stay tuned. The social channels are already there on your screens. You can visit the website. Any questions, any queries, you can get back to us. That's our email ID and website. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.